Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you understand every complaint, every mood swing, every sudden coldness and unexplained dissatisfaction you've ever seen in a woman. Not because women are bad, not because relationships are doomed, but because there's a psychological mechanism running inside them that almost no one talks about, and every man pays for it without even knowing the rules. Here's the truth you were never supposed to hear. Most female unhappiness has nothing to do with the man they're with. Not his effort, not his love, not his money, not his behavior. The dissatisfaction was there long before he arrived, and will be there long after he leaves. Men spend years trying to fix a problem that was never theirs to solve. They try harder, give more, work more, sacrifice more, only to watch the woman grow more distant, more irritated, more critical. And the more he tries, the worse it gets. You've probably heard the same phrase every married man whispers when he thinks nobody's listening. Nothing I do is ever good enough. He brings flowers, wrong color. He plans a date, wrong restaurant. He works overtime, he's absent. He stays home, he lacks ambition. He talks, he's defensive. He stays quiet, he doesn't care. But here's the part that flips the entire game upside down. Her dissatisfaction isn't about you. It's about a program inside her that would have activated no matter what you did. I learned this the hard way, through years of dating different women from different backgrounds, incomes, personalities. Total opposites. And yet, every relationship followed the exact same script like a psychological algorithm. Honeymoon subtle criticisms, increasing frustration, global dissatisfaction. Different women. Same pattern. That's when I realized something nobody wants to admit out loud. There is a mechanism inside many women that creates unhappiness from the inside out, no matter the external circumstances. So let's peel back the first layer. 1. The genetic blueprint. Science already confirmed what men have felt for decades. Around 50% of personality traits, including pessimism, anxiety, and negative emotionality, are inherited. Some women are literally born with a brain chemistry that defaults to dissatisfaction. Their baseline state is not joy, but tension. Not appreciation, but critique. They don't choose this, it chooses them. Look at family lines. You'll see it every time. Unhappy grandmother. Unhappy mother. Now an unhappy daughter. 3 generations of women who could have everything and still feel empty. It's not the man. Not the job. Not the lifestyle. It's wiring. 2. The father wound. Almost every chronically unhappy woman shares one of these childhood patterns. A father who was absent, distant, cold, unstable, harsh, or unpredictable. A mother who constantly complained about men and taught her daughter to do the same. This programs her with 2 beliefs. Men always disappoint. A woman's role is to criticize. So she enters adulthood scanning for flaws automatically. Not because she wants to, but because her childhood made it her survival strategy. Even when she meets a good man, her mind searches for threats, imperfections, weaknesses, and when it finds nothing, it creates them. 3. The fantasy-reality gap. Modern culture sold women a dream no real man could ever live up to. Disney, Hollywood, social media, feminist fairy tales. Influencer lifestyles. She expects romance, adventure, passion, diamonds, emotional fireworks, a man who just knows, a life without boredom, without routine, without the normal friction of long-term relationships. Then she gets reality, bills, work stress, human flaws, days without fireworks, and the gap between fantasy and real life becomes a source of permanent dissatisfaction. Not because life is bad, but because her expectations are impossible. 4. The social comparison poison. Never in human history have women had access to millions of perfect lives to compare themselves to. Instagram destroyed female happiness at a level that is almost unbelievable. She scrolls and sees perfect marriages, perfect vacations, perfect bodies, perfect husbands, perfect houses, perfect gifts, perfect smiles. It doesn't matter that it's fake. It feels real. And she compares your real life to someone else's filtered highlight reel. Guess who loses? Every time. 5. The devaluation mechanism. Here's the most dangerous part. Once a woman gets what she wanted, she stops wanting it. This applies to relationships, lifestyles, careers, values. The moment something becomes hers, its value drops in her mind. It's not cruelty, it's a psychological glitch. She wanted a boyfriend, gets one, now wants marriage. She wanted marriage, gets it, now she wants more attention. She gets attention, now she wants space. She gets space, now he's distant. She gets romance, now it's not enough. She gets stability, now it's boring. Nothing changed except her perception. But she believes you changed. She believes you failed. She believes you ruined the magic. And she reacts accordingly. 6. The drama addiction. Many unhappy women equate stability with boredom. They don't know how to exist without emotional spikes. So they provoke fights, create tension, withdraw affection, sabotage peace, then blame you for the chaos they started. Because drama gives them something quiet, steady happiness cannot. Intensity. And intensity feels like meaning. 7. The I deserve more syndrome. Modern culture constantly tells women, you're a queen. You deserve everything. You're perfect. If you're unhappy, it's someone else's fault. Never settle. You can have it all. But here's the dark side. When you believe you're entitled to the impossible, reality always feels like failure. And that's just the surface. If you're ready, Chat 2 will go much deeper into the exact psychological traps that turn good relationships into emotional war zones, and why men get blamed for problems they didn't create and can't fix. You want to know when I finally understood female unhappiness? Not from books, not from therapists, not from podcasts, but from watching a woman break down in front of me over something so small, so insignificant, that it made me realize the problem had nothing to do with the moment we were in. She wasn't crying because of me. She wasn't angry because of me. She wasn't distant because of me. I was just the closest mirror reflecting a truth she couldn't look at directly. And that's the part men never notice. Most women aren't unhappy with their man, they're unhappy in their own skin, and the man becomes the easiest place to dump what they don't want to face. Let me show you how this actually works. She grows up believing life owes her something extraordinary, that she is destined for more, that she deserves a better story than her mother had, better feelings than her father gave her, better attention than any boy ever offered her. And this fantasy grows with her, quietly, invisibly, like a shadow that never leaves. Then adulthood arrives. And adulthood is brutal to fantasies. She wakes up in a normal apartment, with a normal man, with a normal routine, with a normal income, with normal responsibilities, with normal days that look exactly like the last ones. And in her mind, it feels like somebody lied to her. Somebody robbed her. Somebody tricked her into a life that doesn't match the movie she wrote in her head. Who does she blame? Not her upbringing. Not the fantasy. Not the expectations. Not the emotional wounds. She blames the man who stands in front of her, the one who genuinely tries. You become the embodiment of everything she didn't get, everything she thought she should have had, everything she thinks the world owes her. And that's when the poison begins. The quiet sighs. The cold tone. The criticism that seems to come from nowhere. The conversations that feel like interrogations. The resentment you can feel even when she says everything is fine. She's not reacting to you. She's reacting to the gap between her fantasy and her reality. And no matter who she dates, no matter who she marries, no matter how much she gets, the gap never closes. Because the fantasy never dies. I once knew a woman who had everything. Looks, career, attention, money, a man who adored her. But the more she got, the emptier she became. You could see it in her eyes, the haunting feeling that something was missing. Not because something was missing, but because unhappiness was the baseline she knew best. And here's the part that will shock most men. Some women don't actually want happiness, they want intensity. Happiness feels too still, too quiet, too stable, too unfamiliar. But intensity feels like being alive. So she creates storms out of clear skies. She starts fights because peace feels uncomfortable. She pushes you away because closeness feels dangerous. She demands more because enough is never enough. She destroys good moments because good moments feel like lies. She's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to recreate the emotional temperature she grew up in, the only temperature her nervous system knows. If she grew up with chaos, she will create chaos. If she grew up with anxiety, she will recreate anxiety. If she grew up waiting for affection, she will make you wait for hers. If she grew up feeling unseen, she will test you until you're exhausted trying to see her. She's not attracted to drama, she's addicted to familiar pain. Men call it manipulation. Women call it stress. Psychologists call it trauma loops. I call it emotional gravity. And you, without realizing it, get pulled into her orbit. You try to soothe her. You try to fix her. You try to understand her. You try to make sense of her contradictions. But her unhappiness isn't a riddle to solve. It's a fire to survive. The worst part? The more good you give her, the more her mind starts scanning for what's missing. Because her brain is trained not to appreciate, but to anticipate disappointment. She's not looking for what's right. She's looking for the flaw that confirms everything she already believes. That I'm not enough. That life is unfair. That happiness isn't real. That something better exists somewhere else. She is not fighting you. She is fighting her own reflection. And you just happen to be standing close enough to take the hit. You want to know when a woman becomes truly dangerous to herself? When she realizes that even after getting the relationship she dreamed of, the hole inside her still feels the same size. That's when she starts unraveling. That's when she starts blaming. That's when she starts sabotaging. That's when she starts distancing. That's when she starts daydreaming of escape. Not because you failed, but because reality failed to match the fantasy she never let go of. This is the mechanism no one talks about. Unresolved wounds plus unrealistic expectations equals a lifelong emotional hunger that nothing external can feed. And the man becomes the meal. This is only half of the truth. Chat 3. The part where everything snaps into place. The final layer of why women grow chronically unhappy, and what this means for any man who loves them. Here's the part no one ever says out loud. The part every man eventually feels but can never put into words. A woman's unhappiness doesn't stay inside her. It spills. It spreads. It infects the entire relationship like smoke creeping under a door. You don't even notice it at first. The sighs get a little heavier. The tone gets a little colder. The smiles disappear, slowly, one by one. She starts withdrawing her affection not dramatically, but subtly, the way a tide pulls back before a storm. And you tell yourself it's temporary. Work stress. Puns. Bad mood. Whatever excuse helps you sleep at night. But deep down, some quiet instinct whispers that something is shifting, something is slipping, something is breaking that you can't quite see yet. And here is the brutal truth. When a woman carries unhappiness inside her, the relationship becomes the container she tries to empty it into. Not intentionally. Not maliciously. Just naturally, the way gravity pulls water downhill. Suddenly everything becomes your fault. Things you never did. Things you never said. Things you never even thought. You become responsible for her childhood, her past relationships, her insecurities, her fears, her self-worth. You become the emotional punching bag for wounds that existed decades before you ever met her. And the worst part? She genuinely believes you're the cause, because you're the closest target to the pain. I once watched a woman collapse under the weight of her own emotions, not because something catastrophic happened, but because nothing catastrophic happened. Life was simply normal. And normal felt unbearable to her. Do you know why? Because she grew up in chaos. Normal felt like emptiness. Stability felt like a trap. A good man felt like a mirror reflecting all the things she didn't like about herself. So she tried to destroy the calm, because she didn't know how to exist inside it. That's the secret no one tells men. A woman will sabotage peace if she was raised in war. If she grew up around emotional instability, she will recreate it. Not because she wants pain, but because pain is familiar, and familiarity feels safe. She will pick fights out of nowhere. She will test you when you least expect it. She will push you away right when things get good. She will accuse you of things you didn't even dream of doing. She will interpret your calmness as indifference, and your consistency as boredom. Then she'll resent you for not being the fantasy she created, a fantasy no man could ever live up to. But here's the darkest truth that men never see coming. Women who cannot regulate their own emotions try to regulate yours. They need you anxious, tense, uncertain, slightly afraid. Not because they're evil, but because your emotional reaction gives them a sense of control in moments where they feel completely out of control inside. And suddenly the relationship becomes a battlefield. Not her versus you, but her versus her own emptiness, with you trapped in the middle as collateral damage. You try to love her harder. You try to reassure her. You try to fix the problem. You try to calm the storm. But the harder you try, the worse it gets. Because every time you rescue her from her own emotions, she becomes more dependent on you to regulate them. And the need grows, and grows, and grows, until one day you wake up and realize something terrifying. Her emotional survival has become your responsibility. And your own happiness? That died months ago, quietly, politely, like a man taught to put himself last. You become smaller, softer, quieter, less confident, less passionate, less alive. Because the only way to keep peace with an unhappy woman is to sacrifice pieces of yourself. And here is the moment men never forget. When you finally realize you're not dating a partner, you're emotionally babysitting an adult who refuses to face herself. But listen carefully, because this is the truth that will set you free. You cannot fix a woman whose unhappiness existed before you. You cannot fill a void you didn't create. You cannot fight the ghost she carries. You cannot save someone who's drowning in problems they refuse to name. And the moment you stop trying, the moment you pull back, the moment you reclaim your life, only then will you finally see the mechanism clearly. Her unhappiness was never about you. Her dissatisfaction was never about what you did. Her resentment was never about the relationship. It was always something deeper. Unresolved wounds. Unrealistic fantasies. Unhealed childhood patterns. A constant comparison to a life she never had. A mind that magnifies what's missing and ignores what's present. And here is the final, brutal revelation. A woman can only be as happy in a relationship as she is with herself. And if she isn't happy alone, she will never be happy with you. Not now. Not later. Not ever. Because the battle isn't between you and her. It's between her and herself. And she is losing.